hell and suicide. Um, and again, we've already discussed that hell and suicide is not to portray that anybody who commits suicide is going to hell. That is not our objective. Our objective is to keep a person from getting to the point of committing suicide. So this is just simply to prevent the act from happening, to deal with the why a person is getting to the place where they're even remotely considering suicide. So we're not saying if a person commits suicide, they're going to hell. That's not for me to decide. That's for God to decide. So I'm not here on no soapbox saying that if you commit suicide, you're going to hell. I personally think that when a person or a group of people try to use that as a fear tactic, that's actually, to me, is like a death warrant. Because now I'm walking around, I'm in turmoil because I'm dealing with so many things going on that's gone wrong in my life. So I'm in turmoil, and then on top of that, it's hell for me to live. But now you're telling me if I die, I'm gonna face hell. So I'm just in a place of hell. So people use the concept if you commit suicide, you're going to hell. They use that as a method to try to prevent people from committing suicide. But what you're actually doing, in my opinion, I'm just giving you my opinion, what you're actually doing is you're planting fear in a person who's already in a state of turmoil. So now you're planting more fear in them. And I'm not holding up that it's okay to commit suicide. I'm not doing that. But what I am saying is, let's deal with the why. Why suicide is occurring. So last week we was talking about noticing the signs that a person is contemplating suicide. And in order to notice the sign, you have to know the person in order to notice the sign. If I'm looking at Queen, and Queen don't look the same, maybe Queen is not acting the same, maybe Queen is not talking the same, then I know something is going on that is of negative impact to Queen. Because I've taken the time to get to know her. But if I don't know her, if I don't spend time with her, then when these changes start to occur, I won't really recognize them. So that's why it's really important that we as society need to be more unified with one another. We say we love each other like Christ loved the church. We say that as the Christians. We say we love each other, but you can't spend an hour with me? You say you love me, but you can't spend an hour with me? Let's take it even a little bit lower than that. You can't even give me 30 minutes? 10 minutes?
No.
You can't take a moment to get to know the good as well as the bad of me? Because you know when a person is doing things that is considered negative, we remember that. And we hold that person accountable to the bad things that they're doing, but we seem to have selective memory when it comes to the good things that a person is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's where it gets even more sadder at. It's sad to say, many of us in today's society do this. We don't seem to remember the good things about a person until that person take their last breath.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then that's when we want to talk about all the good things about the person. I see it especially on Facebook, because I'm one of them. I don't just like your comment because who you are. I actually read the comments before I like them. And if the comments is stupid, I don't like it. I just go on to the next comment. But I noticed that whenever a person takes their last breath and they're no longer on this earth, then that's when we can remember all the good things about them. But before then, while they was alive, we would be bashing them. We'll be discussing all the bad things. We all know that one person who is not here anymore, that now people uphold like they're such an angel, but when they was here, they treated that person like they was the devil themselves. So I'm saying that to say that it's really sad that when a person is alive, all we can remember is the bad things, but when the person died, now we want to remember the good things. Why not reverse that? Why not remember the good things about the person while they was alive, help that person through the things that are bad so that they can make that transition from that point. Give them a positive outlook. So last week we was talking about recognizing the signs, or listening for the signs. Well, we're gonna kind of still play on that with this week. This week we're talking about hearing the cries. And we're using the story about Samson because all people remember is, oh, Delilah did him wrong, and she cut his hair, she deceived him. Now that's going right back to when we was talking about at the beginning of, at the end of last month, going into this month, we was talking about Adam and Eve and how all people seek. Remember, I said people seem to only remember the bad things. So how people all they could talk about is how the woman caused the fall of man. Eve was the cause of Adam falling. And you hear a lot of people in church that discusses this. This is the way they teaching you that Eve was the fall of Adam, and here they're saying that Delilah was the cause of the fall of Samson. So if you really, I mean, when I was younger, that made sense to me because I didn't know no better. But as I got older and I started studying the Bible for myself, first thing popped in my head that should pop in anybody's head with common sense. Okay, so you saying Adam couldn't think for himself? Are you saying Samson couldn't think for himself? You know, so it started not to make sense to me, and then that's when I started talking to a person that I know was going to give me the truth, which is the Holy Spirit. So I began to talk to the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit began to break down the story about Adam and Eve and how that come about and how Adam was actually the first fallout guy. People like to associate that negativity with, or that deceit with Judas, but it was actually Adam. And it actually had to happen in order for Jesus to come. Mm-hmm. So now they also like to associate with that Judas was the first recordable suicide that was ever recorded in the Bible. But that's not true. Because that, if you're looking at it from the standpoint that suicide is just a physical act, then okay, you might well say Judas was the first suicide. But we know that suicide goes way deeper than just a physical act. A person dies first mentally and emotionally, internally, before they do physically. In the Bible, when it was talking about Adam and Eve, Adam died spiritually before he ever faced physical death. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of us walking around right now, we may look good on the outside, but we dead as a doorknob on the inside. Mm-hmm. So death don't just lie in the physical aspect of it. Now, we're not promoting anything here. So if you one of them that want to take this and go negative, because remember I said people will remember the negative. They won't remember the positive.